Alright, I don't exactly know how to start this video, so, heyo! It has taken me a long time to get to scripting and starting this video up because college work and everything else has literally given me a slap in the balls and left me slumped for a good month, so, Hi! Why don't we start from what we did at the start of the last video, shall we? Listing off the anime that I had watched in the last few months. I finished the seasonals that I was watching last season, being Stone Wars and Wonder Egg Priority. The former I gave a solid 7, mainly because of pacing issues and it didn't really have the effectiveness or impact that it once had in the first season. But overall, it was a solid season, really nice OP, best ending for Dr. Stone, no other complaints here, don't you worry. The latter though. I need a second opinion on that one come the 29th. Also, I finished all of Konosuba. Every season, OVA, and the movie has been covered. Nothing has been left behind, and it's only okay overall to me. I think I already mentioned how Season 1 was briefly in my last video. Season 2 somewhat improved how I felt about Konosuba. The story is still dormant, pacing was slow as hell, but the cast and their development as a group really shine in the season, and especially near the end of it. I was caught somewhat off guard by this, and the same can ring true with the movie as well, with that probably being my favorite part of Konosuba. Both Season 2 and the movie are at a 6 though, mainly because I don't think there's much of a plot in Season 2, and the cast can be really irritating at times, especially Kazuma and Aqua. I've also been doing Fooly Cooly. What's Fooly Cooly? Whatever you want it to mean, honestly. All I can really say about Fooly Cooly is cartoon discourse, and I love it. And I've also watched a whole lot more since then, including but not limited to Kanon 2006, the Nagatoro anime, A Silent Voice, Your Name, Akira, Weathering With You, and Toradora. If you want to see the reviews on some of them, my full reviews are on my AniList profile linked in the description. And that brings us to today, where we have a certain recent anime that we gotta cover, and you already know what this one is because of the title, and like the title has said, this anime has definitely ticked most of the boxes when it comes to a pure shonen and action experience throughout all 24 episodes, and is what I consider to be what an action shonen is all about. Ladies, gentlemen, and those in that technicolor spectrum in between, I give you Jujutsu Kaisen. It's that time. Yes, I am finally back after a few months yet again to talk about more anime, and this time it's going to be on an anime that I had finished in April and I've wanted to talk to you about all this time. So give it up for Jujutsu Kaisen, everyone! In the fall season of 2020, the Jujutsu Kaisen anime had dropped, with the original source's creator being fresh-faced mangaka Gege Akutami, who had released the manga in 2018 to great acclaim. The manga was then adapted to release in October 2020 by Studio Mappo and was directed by Sung-Hoo Park, who, funnily enough, was the same person who directed God of High School anime. Oh boy, how much you can improve after a few months. Either that or it was completely Crunchyroll's influence that made the God of High School anime rushed, which to be honest, I don't think is too far-fetched considering how most felt about Crunchyroll's other webtoon anime, but who knows. Getting sidetracked. Anyways, what do I personally think of Jujutsu Kaisen? Honestly, it's pretty damn good, and for many reasons. First of all, let's talk about the plot here. What's going on? So essentially, Jujutsu Kaisen revolves around curses and the use of cursed energy as a power system in some capacity. This cursed energy can basically take any form, be it energy flowing through an individual, a cursed spirit, a cursed object, etc. Those who use this cursed energy include the students and tutors found at Jujutsu Tech, a school specializing in the education of taking on and exercising cursed spirits, as well as those who are well knowledgeable of utilizing cursed energy to its full potential. These guys are the ones who seal away the high priority cursed objects, and prevent them from getting into the wrong hands and perform exorcisms on cursed spirits. All in an effort for the greater good of Japan and, for that matter, the rest of humanity. The main character of Jujutsu Kaisen is Yuji Itadori. He has now been put at the forefront of these events because of a cursed object known as Sukuna's finger, which his occult club friends had found. After a set of circumstances involving his occult friends and Jujutsu Tech student Megumi Fushiguro, Itadori decides to eat Sukuna's finger to stop the cursed spirit from getting it, which now makes Itadori a vessel for Sukuna, the king of curses and the most powerful curse of them all. Because of all of this now, the Jujutsu Tech tutor Gojo Satoru is supposed to be responsible for keeping an eye on Itadori and allows for Itadori to be trained as a Jujutsu sorcerer under his guidance. It's up to Itadori, Fushiguro, and third member of the first years in Tokyo, Nobara Kukisaki, as well as the rest of Jujutsu Tech to scour around for any remaining Sukuna fingers, with Itadori knowing full well that he could sacrifice himself to put an end to Sukuna for good. This plot provided here is to be expected from a shonen such as this, but the way Jujutsu lets it play out and flow throughout the runtime is excellent. There were only really 2 instances where I was kind of confused about the passage of time in the anime, most likely due to unprecedented time skips in the middle of certain episodes. However, it doesn't necessarily hinder the performance of Jujutsu's writing whatsoever, as I believe that the plot in and of itself is really good and engaging, especially from a shonen such as this. Despite the odd times where the story would jump forward in time, the pacing with Jujutsu Kaisen's arcs are perfect. Nothing feels rushed or prolonged or wishy-washy. It honestly has the perfect amount of pacing for a series like this. The fights and confrontations too are really the highlight of Jujutsu, as it ups the ante and brings excitement and engaging strategic battles with each episode. Like Critical says, Jujutsu Kaisen just gets better with every episode. It's progressive and consistent with the content we receive from each episode. The energy here is non-stop, and it just keeps flowing. It's magnificent. With the plot essentially out of the way, what's the deal with our characters here? First, let me just say that while these characters may not be all too deep, again, this is just the first season of the adaptation of the shonen manga, so this is really to be expected. The characters here all have something niche and admirable about them. Itadori is the kind, bold, and fearless type, yet carefree, but that's really what makes his character lovable and endearing, and a great member of our main trio. Fushiguro is most likely to be the level head of the main trio, being more serious in most circumstances. And Nobara, from what I've seen of her, can be a mix of both Itadori and Fushiguro actually. Sometimes she's just as carefree and goofy as Itadori, but under normal circumstances, she's more like Fushiguro. Although in contrast to him, Nobara is more expressive and upfront about certain stuff. Certainly a candidate for a strong female character in anime. Other characters like the Tokyo second years, Panda, Maki Zenin, and Toge Inumaki were interesting too. Panda being a cursed spirit with 3 different souls led to an interesting battle between them and one of the Kyoto students, Mekamaru, where he switches souls to gain the advantage over Mekamaru despite Mekamaru being a higher grade than Panda. Maki only wanted to do something with her life to make herself happy without considering the consequences of having her sister Mai enroll in Jujutsu Tech against her own will, leading to Mai hating her for doing so. It kinda makes Maki seem selfish, but ultimately she had a goal and she wanted to seize the opportunity to prove herself, so she really had no choice. And now, one of my personal favorites, Toge Inumaki. This guy is an interesting case. He somehow brings unnecessary but well-deserved humor to the table with the random things he says in place of what any average person would say. He really is built like a tuna mustard leaf when it comes to the things he spouts sometimes, bro. I don't know what to tell you. It's the stupidest thing when I laugh at it, but I love it. But that downside of not being able to speak normally actually comes as a plus when used against cursed spirits and those who oppose Toge, as he can essentially utter a command and have the opponent do exactly what he has said. An interesting twist on abilities here, that's for sure. One of the most interesting students from Kyoto has definitely got to be Todo though. There's just something about his character which honestly makes me smile. He's cunning, knowledgeable of cursed energy which helps out Itadori in the battle between Hanami, and overall is just a hilarious and joyous character. Gojo Satoru is also a joyous character to see on screen. Whenever he's not taking stuff all too seriously at all to when he pulls a domain expansion or one of his abilities, he is honestly just a cool character to bear witness to. A good way I can really describe Gojo is that, he's a main character that has already gone through his character arc and story, and now he's just chilling among the others. Villains like Mahito and Sukuna are really interesting too. Sukuna is just the embodiment of lawful evil to me, and Mahito is just straight up chaotic, with that same dynamic being shown off in episodes like episode 12, where they don't necessarily care for each other, but they're still expressing their evil nature to berate and enrage Itadori. Other than those notable mentions, most of the faculty and some of the other Kyoto students never really struck me as influential or deep characters. Again, I'm not saying that's a bad thing early on, but Nanami on all accounts is an exception to this. I like how he works on his own rules and uses the 7-3 ratio as his skill to his advantage in battle. An interesting character too. Other than that, I like the characters shown here, and I have heard that there is a lot more content and stuff for me to see and enjoy in the manga, so I'm totally excited for when I get around to that. Now moving on to the score, and oh my Jesus hecking Christ on a bike with a busted exhaust. The score. The score presented to us in Jujutsu Kaisen is bliss. Some of the tracks I have listened to have been stuck in my head half of the time. They are just so good. Some of the tracks in the OST really fit the mood and fights themselves actually, whether it be Itadori and Todo versus Hanami or Itadori and Novara in episode 24. These background tracks are outstanding to have here. Fits the pacing and action quite nicely. The first OP is also nice to listen to over and over. It never gets boring. Ending 1 is much of the same with a funky twist. Lost in Paradise is my favorite ending for Jujutsu Kaisen. Opening 2 has really grown on me though, and it's a shame that it's overshadowed by OP1. It's honestly some solid stuff that really fits the theme of what Jujutsu Kaisen is going for more than OP1 honestly. Ending 2 is Koshune, which I really love, and I like that it contrasts from the openings and endings that we had gotten. It's more emotional and melodic. This ending has grown on me too, but I still prefer ending 1 overall. And finally, with art and presentation. MAPPA just loves to show off what they can do. The art and presentation here are just off the charts. It's genuinely phenomenal. What else is there to say then? Oh my god. The fight sequences just show this off beautifully. And honestly, yeah. Jujutsu Kaisen. Woo! Honestly, to be real here, I feel like this was just more of a gush sesh. But what would enjoying something be without gushing? Either way, Jujutsu Kaisen was definitely an enjoyable watch, and what I personally believe should be the gold standard for what an action shonen is supposed to deliver to the populace. Brilliantly executed action sequences, solid characters, great use of strategy and ability, and to top it all off, top-notch production is definitely enough for me to land Jujutsu Kaisen the 2-factor rating of Collective 9 and Personal 8 for me. I would have definitely enjoyed this a lot more if it had more depth to some characters, but it's not so much to make a fuss about since it's only the first season of a shonen that's usually to be expected, so I'm not really fussed. I think this season overall really has it good where it is now, and I'm honestly hyped for the Jujutsu Kaisen 0 movie that was recently announced to come out in December. I haven't checked out the manga yet, but I do plan to very soon, and I hope it does deliver on the arcs after episode 24, because being honest to God with you all, real superb stuff here. So yeah, Jujutsu Kaisen gets the Collective 9 Personal 8 rating. Good stuff. Yeah, video done? Video done. If you want to check out the full review and the AniList profile, that's in the description and in the pinned comment down below. And if you also want to check out my socials and other stuff, there's a link tree also in the description which links you to basically everything me. Be sure to also subscribe and hit the notification bell and leave a like on this video because it basically helps me out with getting noticed by the YouTube algorithm. And yeah, that's pretty much everything I needed to say. I'll be back soon with another review video or whatever else, so see you guys!